Monday morning, evening, depending upon when you're watching the show. Welcome to From the Halls of Justice. This evening we have a very special guest in the studio, and we're on local channel 36 in the beautiful city of West Hollywood. And our guest is the just absolutely gorgeous Judge Karla Kerlin. And she sits on the bench and she presides over the ODR housing calendar at LASC, and that's the Los Angeles Superior Court. This is a wonderful program because what they're doing is that they're giving a solution to the homeless problem in Los Angeles. And it's amazing what she does. We have a short clip for you to watch and enjoy. And right before we start our interview, Yvette, if you would be so kind to run the YouTube clip.
You don't know what's going to happen out here in these streets. You know, it's survival out here.
I was originally from Texas. My goal was to hopefully go to school, but I got robbed in LA and I ended up on the street. I didn't have the money or the friends out here really to help me out with that problem.
I used to get bullied a lot, and you know, I really wanted to fit in. And that was the beginning of me drinking and then using. I eventually got diagnosed with mental health disorder, bipolar.
I'm suffering through abuse and don't even know what abuse is. I never knew what abuse was. You know, when a person says, hey, you need to go through a mental health, I knew then I had issues, big time.
I've been diagnosed with a major depressive disorder, insomnia, and an anxiety disorder.
Being homeless and having a mental health situation, it's like you're locked in a box.
Being that way and being in that sort of quiet desperation of, you know, I need this medication, I do need help, and it being so hard to convey that to people.
Unfortunately, here in Los Angeles County, there's an estimated 47,000 people who are living on the streets. When a police officer encounters, let's say, someone who is disturbing the peace, who has a mental illness, if they take them to jail, they can book them in 30 minutes and be on their way.
It's a harsh thing to say, but jail has almost been like a second home.
What typically happens with a person coming out of jail, and about 11 o'clock at night or 12 o'clock at night, they walk out of the jail. If you've been to the LA County Jail on Beauchamp Street, the only thing close by is Skid Row.
Getting released and not having the opportunity to participate in treatment, and the cycle kept continuing.
This vicious cycle of a revolving door in and out of our institutions.
There are a lot of people that we believe shouldn't be in jail.
You see guys who really belong there, and then you see guys who, kind of like in my situation, stuck.
It's unfair, it's unethical. There has to be a better approach.
They have this new program called the ODR program. And I says, what is that? And it says, we think that if you had your own place, you won't be out doing crime. It says, have you ever had your own place? I says, no, never.
It's surreal, you know, it's like, okay, I'll believe it when I see it, but it's real.
There is a need for the continuum of services where a person who lives upstairs can come downstairs and receive mental health services.
They get a caseworker that stays with them for life. I know no other program like that.
Therapy is about second chances, right? And a lot of our guys are seeking that second chance.
I've been able to experience and to grow and to get my life back. I mean, it's unprecedented.
I don't think we ever really understood just how many people inside the jail were eligible. Our study looked at the entire mental health population in the jail, which was over 5,000 people. Over half of them would potentially have successful cases.
That's important because really what the community wants, they want safety.
From a public safety perspective, it's actually safer to have them housed, and emergency room visits are very expensive. Jail stays are very expensive, associated court costs, policing costs, arrest costs, we could go on and on. But if you just house somebody and you provide them with medication, it's actually affordable.
That's rewarding. It's fulfilling. Why wouldn't we all want that? This is an innovative and intelligent approach. and it's working. So far, we've safely diverted almost 2,000 people through the Office of Diversion and Reentry, and this is spreading around the country.
These needs are in Chicago, they're in New York, they're in Miami, they're all over.
I think it should be important for all of us to want everyone in society, to the degree that they're capable of living a life with dignity and purpose.
It's really about righting some wrongs in the criminal justice system that have been going on for far too long.
Well, I remember I almost laughed when I got offered the program. I was like, is this for real? You're gonna get me a housing and medical and all that? And they're like, yeah, and you can get started all over again. It was jaw-dropping.
I says, don't play with me. And when I get in trouble, I go to prison. They schedule me for release. And they picked me up. I still didn't believe it. I says, they're not gonna release me, you know. And they came and they said, Baker, for release. And excuse me for a minute. It was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Beautiful. Absolutely awesome. So, and this is the lady who makes it happen. Our beautiful Lady Justice, Karla Kerlin. I'll give you a little bit of, we could do your bio, and let's talk about that. You preside over several collaborative courts, including the Office of Diversion and Reentry, ODR. Court, the Department of State Hospitals Diversion Program, and the Maternal Health Court in Department 44 in downtown LA. These courts serve persons who are homeless and have a severe mental health disorder, are in custody while pregnant using a holistic team approach. Judge Kerlin was appointed by Governor Schwarzenegger in 2008. Prior to becoming a judge, Karla was a deputy district attorney for 18 years with experience in sex crimes, child abuse, domestic violence, and high-profile homicides. Judge Kerlin has a BS in psychology from the University of Pittsburgh and a JD from Southwestern Law School. Love it. Absolutely marvelous. Wow. Well, tell me a little bit about what is the ODR court?
Well, what happened is Jackie Lacey realized, the district attorney, that there were so many people in custody who had severe mental health issues. It's really spiked. It's like a phenomenal number of persons. Mm-hmm. And it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't feel right to treat these people the same as they go through the criminal justice system. Mm-hmm. And seeking a solution, she went to the Board of Supervisors and implored them to take action and do something. So they started the Office of Diversion and Reentry. Mm-hmm. One of our judges, Peter Espinosa, retired, and he went to oversee the department. That department then developed all of these different programs to help with the homeless and mentally ill, and my court is one of those programs.
Wow. Now, how are cases sent to the court for review?
The first step is usually the defense attorney, but anyone involved in the criminal justice system who thinks it's a good case can make a referral. So the Office of Diversion and Reentry, we call it ODR for short, has set up a website with an online portal through which a defense attorney or a judge or a DA even can log in, give certain identifying information about the case, and review the case for screening. Within about a week, a member of the ODR team goes to jail and visits with the inmate to make the initial assessment of eligibility. Is the person homeless, felony in custody, with a severe mental health disorder?
Beautiful. Now, what is the schedule for the court, and who is in court on ODR days?
So I'm doing intake every Wednesday. We have about 32 to 35 in custody people. It's a really heavy day because we're taking pleas, we're sentencing, all of that. But in court, I have a whole team which consists of at least one psychiatrist, sometimes a couple, 2 licensed clinical social workers, a master of public health, someone who specializes in residential treatment, a dedicated probation officer, and then, of course, the attorneys. On ODR days, each inmate is seen by the team before they're brought into court to make sure that they're legally competent and that they continue to be eligible for the program. So there's a lot of bustle in the courtroom, very different vibe than a regular courtroom. We're not quiet, and we have a whole section of team members who are going in and out of the lockup, which is highly unusual in a criminal justice setting.
This is beautiful. That's an intense evaluation.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And we're backlogged, so we're adding some Mondays as well.
Oh, beautiful. So, what happens when someone is admitted into the program? I know that the clip kind of showed some of that, but this is awesome.
So first, I'll go back a little bit to the court process and then bring you up to speed on that question. So what happens is if the team determines that the person is eligible, it bumps over to the lawyers and myself to determine if the person is suitable. We have to make sure that we could put this person on probation and return them into the community, and they will be safe. And it's a risk because these are very serious offenses. I think people would be surprised. They're not low-level offenses. We have a lot of robberies, assault with a deadly weapon, assault by means of force likely to produce great bodily injury. They are very serious cases. But what happens is I sentence the person to probation. They may or may not have suspended prison time depending on what the offer of the district attorney was. Services include all the conditions that come with a regular felony plus extra ODR conditions. First, the person is conditionally released. That means someone comes and picks them up and takes them to housing. So they don't get lost. They're not released midnight in the middle of the night in the Skid Row area and nowhere to go and no money. They're taken to housing. It's not lockdown housing, but I tell everybody I want them to stay there every night so they have a safe place to stay, and the whole point is to give them housing. They get a case manager. That person meets with the client and discusses what's the services that this person needs. They could be group therapy, individual therapy, residential treatment, domestic violence, whatever that person's needs are, that's the program that is designed for that person. Each person gets psychiatric care. They do agree as a condition of probation to take any medication prescribed, and they come and see me regularly for progress reports.
Wow. That's wonderful. That's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
I mean, yeah.
And it's high volume, it's high demand. At first I thought we could clear the backlog, and then I realized there really isn't a backlog. There's just a huge number of people waiting to get into the program, and we're always going to have that interest.
Okay, so you named off like several people, and so how often, but you said every Monday and Wednesday, how often do you see ODR clients in courtroom? You said Wednesday and Monday?
I see my clients for progress reports on the Mondays where we're not doing ODR intake, Tuesdays and Thursdays, and we're spreading into Friday just because, like today I did 40 progress reports, tomorrow I have 50, Thursday I have 50. So that's 140 people this week alone that I'm seeing just for progress. And that doesn't count Wednesday, which will be an intake day. So I see people every month for a while to make sure that things are going well, see how they're doing, see if they have any questions or concerns. I like feedback, see what their next steps are. I try to identify everyone that doesn't have a high school diploma so we could get them into school if they're capable and comfortable and that's what they want to do. So we really push education.
That's wonderful.
If people have high school, I'm steering them towards college or vocational training, part-time work, volunteer work. It's so individual based on the person, their needs, and what their desires are. If someone's doing really well, I start to see them every 2 months, 3 months. There are people I see every 6 months. I barely know those people because I hardly ever see them, and they're doing great.
And I was going to say, and they've graduated.
Yes.
That's wonderful.
Then if there are people who aren't doing well, I might see them in a week or 2 weeks, give them some very concrete recommendations. I need you to do X, Y, and Z, and I'm going to check on you in 1 week.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, this is awesome. Now, you named off some high standard conditions of probation for people admitted into the ODR program. And how often they see you, maybe once a week or once a month. How often do they have to see the other experts in this too?
That's a great question. They see their case manager at least once a week face-to-face.
Okay.
Sometimes more depending on the relationship and if the person is struggling.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of case managers like 2 contacts a week, 1 face-to-face and 1 by phone or text.
Oh, that's good.
Then in our program, something very unique is instead of the person having to go report to a probation office, probation comes to the person at their housing. So it just makes it easier and less chance of the person out running around in the community. And so, like at certain housing facilities, the probation officer comes on a certain day and will see every one of his or her clients.
This is beautiful. So, who are the service providers for ODR?
We have about 7 or 8, and we keep adding them as the program grows. So our primary ones that we started with were Project 180, Volunteers of America, Amity Foundation, and The People Concern, which was formerly known as LAMP. Some people still know it by LAMP. Okay. We've added Telecare, St. Joseph Center, and Alcott.
Nice.
And as the program grows, we just keep adding more service providers, more housing, more treatment facilities.
And now by the clip, once again, this is just a prayer answered. How is the program working?
I like to think of it, I divide sort of the people into 3 groups.
Mm-hmm.
I have a very high achieving, a group that's doing great.
Mm-hmm.
These people, some have bachelor's degrees already. Someone's getting their master's degree. A lot of people are in school currently, going to LA Trade Tech, learning a vocation, getting their high school diplomas. They've moved on into independent apartments, so they have their own units, which is the goal for everyone who can get there and be compliant in the group home type settings. And those people are just doing really great, and I do not see them as often, although I have some who want to come every month. Okay. They're like, no, I need to see you. And I'm like, okay, I'll see you.
That's wonderful.
I'm like, you don't have to, but it's okay. I have a middle group that struggles either with their mental health or with drugs. Okay. So a lot of meth, so they'll do very well and then have a relapse, and do very well and have a relapse. And it feels very like a couple steps forward and a step back and a couple steps forward and a step back. So it's a process, and we work with people. We do give them a couple of chances, and it's not like you slip up and you're out.
Okay.
Someone would have to do something really bad for that to happen. So we work with them each time and see whether we could continue them in the program, and we look at what we can do differently. Are we meeting their needs? Do we need to add residential drug treatment and send them to go live somewhere for a few months? So we try to tweak it. Is there a medication adjustment? What could be better? Is their housing not a good fit for them?
This is awesome.
Yeah, so that's probably my largest group. Then I have a smaller group of people who just aren't responding to treatment. They're very, very sick, and they need a more structured setting. We've been able to get some conservatorships for those persons, so they actually go out of ODR and go under the purview of the public guardian.
Oh my goodness.
Or we have some people who just refuse to stay at housing, and so we can't get them stabilized and settled in the program, and after so many tries, we just have to be done. And so I send those persons back to the home court to be sentenced in a way that the home court takes a fresh look at it and does what he or she thinks is appropriate.
This is a real try-go-getter situation.
It's very different.
Oh my God.
It's very exciting because we're making
is.
policy. We're trying to make a model that can be replicated. It's a pilot, and it's growing. And we're learning. We're all learning together. We kind of discuss issues. What can we do better here? What can we do better here? What are our needs? What do we need more of? We need more residential treatment.
You need an award. So, is the program available countrywide?
No, but people have come to look at it from Chicago, from other counties in California. A whole group of district attorneys have come. And so it's getting the word is getting out. People are hearing about what we're doing, and they're coming to look at it and see if they can do something for their own county.
So what happens to clients once their probations have ended?
Well, at first I didn't know. I got to the first people and they were like, my probation's ending. And they're like, what happens? And I'm like, I don't know. So I met with the program because I took over from my boss, Judge Ota. Okay. So there were people who were already in process before I took over in 2018. So those were the people whose 3-year grant has now come to an end. So it's pretty amazing. They get to keep their apartment for life if they're in their own apartment. What happens is this: they no longer come to court.
Okay.
They no longer have to report to probation. They do, however, have to maintain a connection to their service provider and case manager to the extent that the case manager and program dictate. Okay. So if it's someone who's already in their own apartment, maybe the case manager will want to see them once a month or every couple weeks. Maybe they no longer come in for active services in groups. It just will be very different based on each person. If they're not yet in their own apartment, they can continue to work towards that. They just won't be under my supervision or probation, and they'll still work with the service provider to get their own place.
This is a miracle. It's a lot of work, and it's a miracle. This is just beautiful. In addition to ODR, are there other innovative court programs?
Yes, so the ODR program has a ton of programs, and so I have 3, which is ODR Court. My second one is the Department of State Hospitals Diversion. So a new law went into effect in January that people who have a felony, actually it could be a felony or a misdemeanor, but my court is for a felony. People who have a felony with a severe mental health disorder have the opportunity to have their case completely diverted out of the criminal justice system. Criminal proceedings stop. I give them certain things to do in a 2-year period, and at the end of the 2 years, if they're successful, their case will be completely dismissed. The advantage to this is there's no conviction to be expunged. The case just goes away, and the use of that arrest and case is very, very limited if the case is successfully closed out. So there are 6 factors in the law that are in play, and it's a mental health disorder, that the disorder was a factor in the commission of the offense, that the disorder would respond to treatment, the person agrees to treatment, agrees to waive their speedy trial rights, and basically there's a catch-all provision where the court feels that there's eligible and suitable candidate. In addition to that, my grant requires that they be felony, in custody, homeless, and they have to have one of 3 disorders: schizophrenia, schizoaffective, or bipolar 1. So it's a very specific group of individuals. We have about 45 people so far that we've been able to divert completely out of the criminal justice system.
With schizophrenia?
Yes.
Now, is does it matter on if it's been chemically induced or if you feel like it was a condition pre-existing before that?
We won't take people who have a substance use disorder only.
Okay.
So sometimes it's hard to tell when people first present because they may appear to have a mental health disorder, but once they're in custody for a while, they don't. So it depends. And that's why our team assesses everybody to see. But they can absolutely have a co-occurring disorder where there's a mental health disorder and a substance abuse problem, which is really, really common.
So this is really great. So wait a minute, they come in with a mental disorder, but after they're in custody for a while, it could, diminish or
sometimes if people are under the influence of narcotics and those work out of their system in a week or 2, they might be more normal.
Wow.
And so we're looking for the people who actually have a mental health disorder. Yeah, so the diversion is really amazing because they're living in the building together. And we're now on our second building. We filled the first one with 10 men and 10 women. We're on the second building. But all the services are in the building, so they don't have to go out and run around. The case managers are there. The food is there. The groups and the classes are there. And probation comes to them there. Even though they're not on probation, the grant pays for probation supervision. So it's yet another member of the team.
I think it's fabulous that they get to keep their apartments after they complete this program, because part of being homeless, once you do get a job and earning, an income, is the outrageous cost of housing. So are you working with a housing program with this?
Yes, there's a nonprofit called Brilliant Corners, and it's subsidized housing. The Board of Supervisors has put up the money, and it's one of the measures to address the homeless crisis and the crisis of persons who are homeless and have a mental health disorder. So Brilliant Corners takes the housing applications, works with the individuals, works with landlords to find suitable housing, and landlords that will accept the vouchers.
Run for
and also
Congress, run for president. This is awesome. I love this. So once again, so you've identified people who are eligible for what the, you have a maternal health court?
Yes, the Board of Supervisors passed a resolution that all pregnant women should be released from custody. So I'm authorized to take all pregnant women from the whole county to my court, and we see if we can settle the case with the district attorney giving an offer where I could put them on probation. They go to one of our service providers, so all of the pregnant women live together. They get different services. They get prenatal care. Okay. They get substance abuse, parenting, everything that can help them be ready to keep their child and test, so they don't test positive if they're a drug user. Everything that helps them set up to keep their child if they want to when they deliver and work towards their own apartment.
Well, I have a couple of questions left, and I just want to tell you something. I think that this program is so outstanding and so wonderful to the point where, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, you're so welcome.
My mother, Pastor Vera Hubbard, passed away last night at 8:09 p.m. And this program was so important to me that I am so happy to be here with you. I am so honored that you took the time to come into our studio.
I can't believe you're here.
The program, you are so amazing. I can't, it's like, really? Because this, I come from a woman who knows people in work. This is a lot of work. This is a lot of work, and the fact that you're doing this, and the fact that you're taking the time and in your heart and you care.
It's gratifying. It's a very different type of judge role.
It's a real purpose that I have never seen before. It's absolutely amazing.
Well, I invite you to come watch.
I would love to. Judge Craig J. Mitchell had been on the show and had mentioned that LASC was doing something for the homeless. And he works with the Midnight Mission and 101 Runners. He does a fabulous job. And this, I really hadn't even heard. This is like the tip of the iceberg. I hadn't heard so much about this until when I saw the clip and I read about you. I was like, really? This is Los Angeles Superior Court. Los Angeles Superior Court cares. We are in action. It's absolutely amazing. So are these programs the future of criminal justice?
I think it is. There's a big restorative justice movement now. Let's get people who are mentally ill out of jail. Let's get them into treatment. Let's help people who are homeless and vulnerable populations and in need of services. I think it's just going to grow and grow. And my boss always tells me this is the future of criminal justice.
I think that you have done a fabulous job. You absolutely need an award. Channel 2, Channel 4, Channel 7, 11, everybody, you need to see this lady.
When people are succeeding in the program, that's my reward. That's what makes me really happy, to see someone going to college and living in their own apartment who's changed their whole life around. That is where I get.
Well, you are absolutely awesome. Judge Karla Kerlin, and I hope and I wish the best for you. Thank you so much. Los Angeles Superior Court cares. This is somebody that you need to pay attention to. Thank you for joining us on From the Halls of Justice. Wow.